Revolving doors save energy and help keep us safe. Have you ever used a revolving door? It's a type of door with 3 or 4 wings that rotate in a circle inside a cylinder. The first revolving door was invented in 1888 by Theophilus Van Kannel. No one knows for sure exactly why he invented it, but these doors are used today for good reason. When we open a regular door, a large amount of air escapes from the building. Revolving doors limit the amount of air that escapes from a structure. This saves energy, and it also keeps rain and snow out. While regular doors often make noise when they're opened and shut, revolving doors are nearly silent in operation. In the 19th century, revolving doors were particularly popular in skyscrapers. This is because in tall buildings, regular doors can be difficult to open in cold weather. Pressure differences between the cold air outside and the warm column of air inside the building cause this problem. Revolving doors, however, don't suffer from this.
Hi everyone, welcome to English for You. I'm Kat.
I'm Chickling.
And today we are talking about a certain kind of a machine or an item that we all use in our daily life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we're talking about something that might sound a little boring at first, but it's actually got an interesting history and reason for existing. It's revolving doors.
I thought it was washing machine because you said it's a machine that we use every day.
Well, I guess a door is a kind of a machine. It has mechanical parts, even though it doesn't require power. But yeah, it's a thing that we use every day to go in and out of places. And revolving doors are only in certain buildings. I think most people don't have them in their houses, but they are, part of daily life if you're in a city. So why don't we get started with our article? It begins by asking, have you ever used a revolving door?
I think everybody has.
I think everybody who lives in a city or who's been to a city has used a revolving door, for sure. I have too. So it's a type of door with 3 or 4 wings that rotate in a circle inside a cylinder. Okay, so we've got a few kinds of words here that tell us about this kind of door. First off, it rotates. Rotate and revolve are kind of synonyms. They mean kind of the same thing. Rotate means to move around a center point in a circle. So you think of like wheels on a car. They rotate to move the car forward. And revolving doors will rotate in their cylinder. And the cylinder is kind of the shape of a can, if you think of like how a can is shaped, like a can of soda or something like that. So it's got circles at the top and the bottom and then long straight line between them. And a revolving door is in that kind of space.
So rotate 就是旋转的意思哦。那我们就知道说，这个是一种具有3个到4个面板，门板的门这边有一个 wings， 这个 3 or 4 wings 这边指的是门板的意思。那么 cylinder 它就是圆柱状物哦，所以这一个3到4个门板的门，它可以在圆柱体里面绕圈旋转。
Right. So if you've used a revolving door, you know that you kind of have to push in and you have to keep walking in a circle until you get to the inside part. So that's how they work. Now, where did they come from? Who got this idea? The first revolving door was invented in 1888 by Theophilus Van Kannel. That's a very German name. He's probably a German guy. No one knows for sure exactly why he invented it, but these doors are used today for good reason. So yeah, they're not sure why he invented it. For sure means without a doubt or certainly or definitely. So nobody is 100% sure why he made these doors, but he did invent them, and they're used today for good reason. So the word invent is a vocabulary word that we have here that means to create or produce something for the first time, usually something useful. So when you think of inventions, that's the noun for things that are invented, they're usually things that people make that are useful, that solve a problem that everybody has in their daily lives. I think the most commonly thought of types of inventions are maybe like the telephone, the light bulb, the computer, all sorts of things like that. They're very useful and they have to be made for the first time by somebody. So when they're made for the first time, they are invented, just like the revolving door. So an example sentence for invent. The first wheel was invented long before humans started to write.
And we also saw for sure, right?
Yes, for sure, meaning certainly or without a doubt.
Oh, okay, 就是当然的意思嘛。And also we have invent. 老师刚刚讲的 invent 就是发明或创造的意思，是一个动词哦。名词的时候是 invention， 所以我们可以说 the dishwasher is a wonderful invention， 因为真的很方便。那如果是发明这个东西的人呢 ，we can call that person an inventor， 就是发明家。那么我们意思就是说，第一台旋转门是由这个 Theophilus， 不太会念他名字，好长哦。他是在1888年发明的，没有人确切知道为什么要发明这个旋转门。不过为什么到现在还被使用呢？肯定是有原因的哦。Why are they still being used?
Well, apparently they have some uses that, like regular doors that we think of, like where you open and close it, or sliding doors, can't really do. So they explain it in the next part of the article. When we open a regular door, a large amount of air escapes from the building. That's true. You think of like when you open a door where the building inside is cool and the outside air is hot, the cool air rushes out of the building. It escapes from it. To escape, we often think of escape as like somebody runs away from a dangerous situation. But in this case, we're talking about objects or air or gas or water escaping. And escape here means to come out from somewhere or leak out. When you're talking about things and not people. So, for example, some gas is escaping from the stove, so please shut it off quickly.
So escape 就是外泄，这边是外泄的意思哦。Escape from something 从什么地方外泄，可是也可以当逃走的意思哦。比如说 he broke down the locked door and escaped， 代表他逃走的意思。当名词也可以哦。当名词的话，有逃脱、逃离的意思嘛。所以如果你逃脱的路线，英文就叫 escape route。比如说 the aim was to cut off the enemy's escape route and supplies. 所以当我们打开这扇普通的门的时候，如果今天不是旋转门，就会有很多空气从建筑物里面跑出来。
Right. So you think about like when you go to maybe 7-Eleven and you want something out of the cold freezer. And you open it and you're kind of looking around and then you get something, but maybe you change your mind after you close the door.
Yeah.
Have you ever like closed the door and then you can't open it again for like a minute?
I think, yeah, maybe 1 or 2 times.
Yeah, like whenever I get something out of the freezer and I change my mind, I have to wait because the air that comes in there or goes out of there like creates this pressure vacuum, so you can't actually open the door because all this air, cold air came out of it. So there's a failing of like a regular door. But anyway, so revolving doors don't have that problem because revolving doors limit the amount of air that escapes from a structure, the structure being the building. So a structure is kind of another word for building, but more broadly, it's something like a house, a bridge, a tower, and it's something that is built by putting parts together, and usually it stands on its own. So you think of a fountain in a park. That's a structure. It doesn't have to be a building, but it's something that is built. So another example, this brick structure has been standing here for hundreds of years.
所以 structure 这边是大型建筑物的意思，不过它本身也有结构的意思哦。那当动词的话，就是也有组织的意思。比如说，你说一个东西结构很严谨的，你就可以说是 well structured。比如说 A well-structured short answer is better than a weakly structured long answer.
Very true.
真的 right. 所以旋转门呢是可以控制建筑物里面跑出来的空气量。
Okay. So if you don't let the air escape out of a building, then you don't have as much temperature changing and that sort of thing. The article says this saves energy, and it also keeps rain and snow out. That makes sense.
OK， 对啊，当然啊，如果你里面因为建筑物里面一定有冷气嘛，冷气跑出来，其实就也没有很节省能源。所以当今天可以控制冷气，空气留在里面，这是节省能源一个方式，甚至可以挡雨跟雪哦。
While regular doors often make noise when they're opened and shut, you know, revolving doors are nearly silent in operation. That's right, because they're usually built and they kind of, maybe they make like a little hiss when they're going around, like a sss, but that's about it. They're nearly silent. Silent means not making any sound or noise, so they don't have that big ka-chunk that regular doors do. They don't usually squeak because their hinges are in the middle and they're operated in a different way. So they are very quiet, nearly silent. Silent is like so quiet that there's no noise. So for an example, you could think of this. The car's engine is silent, but you can still hear its wheels moving. That's true of like electric cars. Now, they are silent in operation. Operation means working. So when it's in operation, it's when something is working.
So silent 就是静音的。那这是形容词哦，名词是什么呢？ The noun form is silence. So we usually say silence is golden. That's why I never
Only
talk.
if you want people to shut up, I feel like.
Right. 那 in operation 就是运作中哦，那它是来自于动词 operate， 所以普通的门在打开跟关闭其实都会很吵，会蹦蹦蹦，会有一声嘛。但是其实旋转门在运行中是几乎没有噪音的哦，老师刚刚有示范啦。
So, yeah, you definitely can have less noise, less air escaping, that sort of thing when you're using revolving doors. In the 19th century, revolving doors were particularly popular in skyscrapers. Yeah, of course. Skyscrapers were very new at the time, like skyscrapers being buildings taller than usually, 10 floors or more. So tall buildings that you see in cities, they were quite new, and revolving doors were particularly popular in these. Particularly is this nice adverb from the adjective particular, and it's used to show someone or something deserves special mention, like you're talking about this thing especially. More than usually. So like it's more than normal. It's particularly popular. It's more popular than normal, you could say. For an example, Emily is particularly good at writing poems. She can express her feelings very well.
So particularly 就是尤其嘛。那这个字呢，它是副词，形容词就是 particular， 代表非常很讲究啊，很苛求，都是用给这个字。比如说 I am really particular about what I eat or what I wear， 就是你做的事情，你穿的衣服，你吃的东西，你很苛求的话，就可以用这个字。或者是 in particular， 就是特别或尤其的意思。Are you looking for anything in particular？ 你有特别要找什么吗？那 skyscraper 就是摩天大楼，所以其实旋转门通常是在它是在19世纪的摩天大楼中特别流行的。
Right. I think the word skyscraper is always so fascinating because it's literally thinking of a building that is scratching the sky. I think that's a really cool description of like a building that is so tall that it's touching the sky. It's pretty cool. But anyway, so they were very popular in skyscrapers in the 19th century. Sometimes they still are. I think you mainly see them in like shopping malls and things like that, maybe hotels. This is because in tall buildings, regular doors can be difficult to open in cold weather. Like I was saying about the freezer doors in 7-Eleven.
真的，所以就是因为在高层建筑中呢，普通的门在寒冷的天气下是不好打开的哟。刚刚老师不是有讲到 7-Eleven 的那个门，也是这个原理。
Pressure differences between the cold air outside and the warm column of air inside the building cause this problem. So yeah, usually warm air has more pressure than cold air. Cold air is lower pressure. So you will have a hard time to open the door if the air is colder outside. So what we have is this word column, a warm column of air. Columns are usually this like really tall, round, kind of cylinder-shaped support for a building. You see them in a lot of Greek buildings, Roman buildings, or buildings that are supposed to look fancy, like courthouses. You see marble columns where they're white and very tall and on the outside of buildings. But anything that's that kind of shape, even air, can be called a column too. So it's something that is tall and thin in shape. So a column of air is just, air that is inside a building that is very tall and thin. So you could also think of smoke. For example, there was a black column of smoke rising from the big forest fire.
So column 这边是指直线深入空中的柱状物。好长的那个翻译哦。其实我们看报纸啊，杂志上面的一栏一栏也可以叫 column。比如说 I only had enough time to read the first column。那其实室外冷空气呢，跟建筑物内比较暖的空气的压力，这之间的压力差才会导致这个门打不开。
So regular doors will have a hard time being opened when it's cold outside. Revolving doors, however, don't suffer from this. So in other words, they don't have this problem.
So that's why revolving doors are still being used.
That's right, and they're still being used, especially in skyscrapers.
对，因为他们不受压力差的影响。那我们也有看到我们今天的 language and focus， 我们赶快来看一下哦。在英文里面，某些词语呢，在语义上面可以连接上下句，就会有因果、转折或者是补充等等的关系。这些词都叫做转成词哦。那通常我们加了转成词，我们句子就可以更加的顺畅跟连贯。那比如说，如果今天你是要举例，或者是要说明一件事情，我们就会用什么 for example， 或者是 such as 这些例如的意思，或者是 for one thing blah 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 for another thing， 就是一方面怎么样，另一方面又怎么样，或者是换句话说的英文就是 in other words， 这些都是指用于列举或说明的时候会用的。比如说 many countries, for example, Mexico and Japan have a lot of earthquakes， 所以这边的 for example 指的就是例如嘛，所以很多国家像是墨西哥跟日本有非常多的地震，或者是比如说我们用一个换句话说好了， He didn't say much。In other words, he didn't want to tell the truth. 他其实没什么讲话，但其实换句话说，他只是不想讲实话而已啊。好，上面都是列举。那我们来看一下，如果是转折跟比较有哪一些呢？我们有 however， 然而这很常见，或者是相反的 on the contrary， 或者是 on the other hand， 另一方面都可以在表达比较或转折的意思。比如说It wasn't a good thing. On the contrary, it was a huge mistake. 这件事情不是很好，相反的是个超级大的灾难啊，或超级大的那个错误。那么如果我们今天是要补充说明，我们可以说 What's more? What's more 就是有而且或者是再者的意思，或者是除此之外哦 in addition 这些都算在里面。比如说 You're a marvelous chef, and what's more, you make the best pasta I've ever had. 你真的是个很棒的厨师耶，而且呢，你做的意大利面是我吃过最好吃的，所以大家要记得练习哦。
All right, and with that, we are actually done with day 1's part of the article. In day 2, we're going to discuss more about how revolving doors have changed from the 19th century to today, because of course, you always want to make improvements to things, make them work a little bit better, and there are certain things that have been used and made since then that help revolving doors work better. So, we'll see that in day 2, but first, let's go to our For You chat. So our chat question today, have you ever used a revolving door? And we kind of answered this already, but that's okay. Do you prefer it to a regular or sliding door? Why or why not?
I actually prefer the normal one, actually.
Really?
Yeah,
so regular door or sliding door?
Regular door.
Ah.
Like I don't know, I just kind of feel like I'll get stuck in the revolving one.
I always feel a little bit claustrophobic, like stuffy
I know, right?
when I use them. But it's the same sort of feeling as using a roundabout when you're driving, I feel like.
That's true.
It feels a little bit stressful. I know that it's actually better for the flow of traffic, but it is kind of stressful because, I do feel like trapped and like I got to keep moving in this exact way or else I'm going to...
right?
But... I think in general, if I had to name a favorite kind of door, probably sliding doors. I like barn doors. I think they're
okay.
cool.
I like the regular ones.
Yeah.
I'm basic.
Everybody's got their thing. And I think just it's, a matter of you have to use it no matter what. So anyway, we will see you guys tomorrow for English for You. I'm Kat.
I'm Chickling.
And we will see you in day 2. Bye.
Bye.
Vocabulary Review.
Invent. The telephone was invented in 1876 by Alexander Graham Bell. The first telephone call was made in Boston, U.S. Escape. The balloon popped, and I could hear the air escape with a loud noise. Structure. The government is going to knock down this old structure to make room for new buildings. Silent. During the final exam, the room was silent because all the students were focusing on the test. Particularly. This year's weather was particularly bad, so we couldn't grow many vegetables. I like most fruits, but I particularly like oranges. They're my favorite. Column. The hot summer sun made columns of hot air rise from the sidewalk.
智慧小补帖
Rotate. Cylinder. Skyscraper.